Let the big dog eat. Oh, hey guys, you're probably wondering what I'm doing out here, being silly. But I want to tell you a story today. It's a true story. And I'm wearing my old high school baseball jacket with underneath the championship t-shirt from when we won the state championship. I've also got my my state championship ring on. And if you notice, it says MVP there on the one side. And so I want to tell you a story about how I went from biggest loser to MVP, from zero to hero, and how in between there it was a short but simple, heartfelt prayer that God answered. And from that, God would direct my path through my life from that situation. So to start with, I got to tell you about the team. So the year's 1999, and it's Little Rock Mills High School. Now this team was ranked number 1 in the state, number 5 in the nation, and it was an excellent ball team, and it was a privilege for me to be a part of. I was not by no means the best player on that team. Really, I would consider myself maybe average, hitting in the 7 to 9 hole, maybe below average for that great team. And so we had on the mound as our ace David Worstel, a powerful right-handed pitcher that threw consistently 90 miles an hour on a good day, 92. We had a second pitcher that was a junior, Blake Horseman, who also threw really hard, 88, 89 consistently, and could hit low 90s on a good day. Our third string pitcher, Stephen Lockwood, would have been an ace on most high schools. And he threw in mid 80s with a good curveball and a good changeup. Going around the bases with some, we had a shortstop named Luke Mercado, who was an excellent defensive player. His dad was a professional scout for the Cubs that actually recruited or had a role in recruiting Albert Bell, a major league player. Luke would hit 100 balls a morning before school on soft toss, and he had 15 home runs, so he hit with power too. Our third baseman was a friend of mine, Ryan Benson, Michael Ryan Benson. He was a great all-around baseball player, strong, good arm, good defense, excellent hitter. And behind the plate catching, we had a catcher named Andy Runyon, who was probably the best hitter I'd ever played with, even through college. I couldn't find my high school hat, so I'm wearing my UAM, University of Arkansas Monticello hat today to complete the attire. And but Andy was one of those hitters that didn't matter what you threw at him, curveball, changeup, fastball. He was disciplined. From the time he could walk, his dad had taught him the fundamentals of hitting, and he lived it, man. He was going to hit the ball hard somewhere, no matter where it was pitched. And his dad actually taught me a lot about hitting the ball where it's pitched that helped me even on through college. So I don't want to be too long. So some of the other players, Ryan Williams, Taylor Guillory, Demetric Poe, Danny Lindsay, Matt Morgan. We had a big group. Kevin Bohannon was on that team, Eric Mercado, Luke's little brother. And I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but we had an excellent team, a guy named Travis in center field. So anyway, we had an excellent team, and a team that not only had a lot of talent, but we played together as a team. Because if you know anything about sports and championships, a championship team has something special in which they play with unity. They believe in each other, they believe in themselves, and we had that. Even when we were behind, we knew we were going to win, and we usually did. You always have a bad game here and there, so you have some losses. But all right, so now it's our junior year. To tell you the victory of my senior year, I've got to tell you about our junior year. And it's in 1998, we had the same team except for 2 players. And we were coming into the state championship 30-0. And we were on the verge of being the winningest team in high school baseball history. And it's no joke. The news was covering it. It was at our home field. So the whole school got out early to watch it. So family, friends, packed house. And I want to tell you, if there was ever a player that lost the game for his team, it was me that day. And I'm joking now, but it wasn't funny in the slightest. I dropped 3 fly balls, and runners were going around the bases like a merry-go-round. I struck out 2, maybe 3 times. It was so bad that I could hear our own fans saying, "Take him out," yelling. And finally the coach did it, and rightly so, man. I was out of it. And I'll tell you that when I started messing up out there in the outfield, I had nobody else to blame. I didn't normally make errors, and so making that many in one inning was horrible. And I blamed God. I cussed at God aloud, and it wasn't right to do so. But in the heat of the moment, I was angry. I blamed God. I stayed in the dugout an hour and a half after that, and in shame, not wanting to face the fans, in tears, watching the other team dogpile on our mound and celebrate a victory that should have been ours. We were better than that team. Anyway, so we lose, and then the next year we come back, and the title in the yearbook is Revenge for the Comets. And so we would be a year older, a year stronger, a year wiser, and we would come back with a tenacity, with a pursuit of victory. But in between that, I had to write a paper for an English class about the worst day of my life. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty blessed if the worst day of my life is a baseball game. But baseball was my life then, and it was the worst day. And as I wrote about it, I remembered what I had said to God that day in the outfield. And it touched me, and I said, Lord, forgive me. Forgive me for blaming you and talking to you that way. You know, you don't deserve that. I didn't go to church. I didn't live for God. I had no right to expect God to show up. The only time I prayed was when I needed something from God. And so for me to accuse him, I realized I was in the wrong. And I said, Lord, forgive me and help me make it up to my teammates next year. Help me do better. And so we come into 99, and now we're back at the state tournament. And I want to tell you, it wasn't just me, because I was an average player. My batting average is about somewhere between 300 and 350. And I hit 667 that tournament. I had 3 plays where I threw somebody out, I think twice at home and once at third in a game-winning situation. And that doesn't even happen to players that often. As an outfielder, you live for that. I mean, you either want a ball close to the fence you can rob a home run, or you want to play where you can throw somebody out at the plate. That's the only way you really shine as an outfielder. And for me to hit that well against the best pitching in 5A baseball, it's impossible when you think about it. The reason it happened is because God was with me, and I knew it. And you know, it was an awesome victory, and I was named co-MVP with David Worstel during that tournament. We celebrated. We had the game was at Baum Stadium in Fayetteville. But to tell you a little bit more, you know, it's interesting looking back at that, how God had a plan. You know, from the way I played in that tournament, one of I think it was Andy Runyon's dad, who called UAM and told the coach there about me, and they offered me a position to come play college ball, which I did for 4.5 years. And then from that, I earned my degree there and went into the career field that I have. And then the career led me to my wife and my two children. So God directed my path all through that, and I'm just so thankful looking back at how God did that. But I wish I could tell you that after God did that for me, back then I stood up and I told everybody about how great God is and what he had done for me. But the truth is I didn't. I soaked up all the glory and praise like it was me and my ability, and it really was beyond my ability. I mean, and to tell you, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but if I had a magic device and I could make a throw 100 times and keep rewinding time until I did it just to the best of my ability, that was the throw I made. When I was at the plate, it would have been the same. It was the perfect swing for the perfect pitch. Each time that I was in a situation to make a difference, it worked out perfect. And I know that was God's hand over my life because of that prayer. So I didn't testify. I went on to college, and I started living like a lot of college kids do, and sinful things. And I'll tell you, there's consequences for that. That actually led me into a dark place, a battle with an unnatural fear that nearly caused me to take my own life. And despite knowing that it wasn't something that I should have had, I couldn't overcome it. And the Bible says we struggle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities in high places. And I would need God more than ever as not only Savior and the one who answers prayer, but as the deliverer. And God would meet me. It would take some years and a process, but that process, which back then I considered the biggest curse of my life, turned out to be the biggest blessing, because from that valley and from that difficult time, I would finally get to a place where I sought God and pursued him, and I searched the scriptures, and I took that word and I stood on it, and I would learn what it means to wait on the Lord and to hear from the Lord, and to expect God to fulfill the promises in your life, which would teach me how to live in victory. So I guess what I'll leave you with today is that God is a God who answers prayer, and he does give us the victory as we follow him. He is an awesome God, and there's no one like him. If you've ever had an encounter with God and you've been in his presence, you know there's none like our God. There's no joy that compares to the presence of the Lord. There's no peace that you can have in this world. There is no excitement or thrill in this life that compares to being in the presence of God. and encountering Him and having a relationship with Him. So that's my story. I want to tell you about angels in the outfield and how I went from zero to hero, and God put me on a path of victory for my life through a baseball game. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.